Hello from Oslo. I recently finished evaluating one PhD thesis dissertation, and here I summarize some typical mistakes because when people write master thesis or PhD thesis or grant, many mistakes or typos are kind of similar. So I started learning this when I was writing my own master thesis and later PhD thesis, and then I had like 10 students who either wrote master or PhD thesis, and I read usually 2-3 times their work, and then I was evaluating few um, as an external or internal censor. So I can say that there are some tips which can help to write. Um, I will not summarize all of them, but I will try to start. So, for example, I noticed that even in the table of content, in the summary, in the beginning, there was already a problem in this, and is a PhD thesis. Okay, the section, for example, 5.3.1, this section was listed twice, likely by mistake, because once it should be 531 and one it should be 532, but it was listed twice. Then a table 3.4 was missing from the list. So there was a summary of tables 3.1, 3.2, 3.3 and 3.5, but there was no table 3.4. Again, figure 2.9 also was listed twice by mistake. So one of them should be 2.9 and one of them should be 2.10. Then multiple typos, mainly I summarized in six groups. So first group is a lack of space or double space or multiple space. Imagine a PhD thesis, and then you have when it's a double space, sometimes it's hard to notice, but there is a tool. You can Google and find how to identify double space. Even with the search button, it can be Ctrl F and put double space, and you will find if you have it. It doesn't look good, but it's not the worst thing. The worst is the lack of space, when few words are just fused together and over and over and over, and this is a bit harder, and later I will say how to fix it very easy. Second group was a lack of verb in some sentences, so maybe the writer was not a native speaker for English, but for PhD level we should know that verb is an important part of the sentence, and there were quite long sentence and quite several of them, or many of them, when a verb was simply missing. Then also was a third group of mistakes, was a wrong usage of a passive form of the verbs in the sentences. So again, maybe a writer is not a native speaker, but if some tricks were used and it was enough time probably before submission, these things can be fixed. Group number 4 is capitalized letters in the middle of the sentence. So imagine randomly a sentence starts and then there's a comma and then there is a capital letter. The reason is most likely the sentence originally started there and then was added a part in the beginning, but the capital letter was not fixed. I think for PhD thesis, I'm afraid to read my own PhD thesis now, but I guess with my current knowledge, I would say it is not acceptable to have many typos. So capital letters in the middle of the sentence was quite common. Then fifth group is a different usage of a term. So for example, the thesis was about a specific virus, Ebola virus. So the spelling was like sometimes with a capital E, sometimes all letters are not capitalized, sometimes there were two words together, Ebola virus instead of Ebola. Sometimes it was Ebola virus Latinic, and sometimes it was EBOV, just 4 letters. And randomly, this at least 5 different forms of a term were present. I think it's much better to be consistent in documents like this, in a thesis, in a grant, in a maybe research paper, so not to confuse people. There are many ways to explain the same term, but to choose one way and always use it in the same document. And finally, sixth group was a wrong usage of a Latin expression. I also see it a lot in dissertation, in when I review papers, even sometimes in published papers. So there is a classical way how to spell, how to write Latin expression. For example, in vivo, in vitro, ex vivo. Usually they are two separate words, and without hyphen, without dash, and they are in italics because they are Latin expression. It's easy to check in Wikipedia, for example, how Latin expression are used to be spelled. But regardless of this, there were like also three different ways to spell them. Sometimes they were written in a classical way, two different words, in vivo, and in italics. Sometimes they were written with a hyphen, and sometimes they were written without italics. So maybe sounds like a small thing, but again, for PhD thesis, for master thesis, this is need to be fixed. If for PhD is a higher demand for the quality, and for master thesis, if a person wants a better grade, it's also better to have a good style in writing. This is about the typos and the mistakes. Then there was also a comment about figures and figure legends or descriptions. Like for example, a capture or figure legend for figure 2-3, spaces were missing, so the words were fused together. Label for figure 2-8, double space. Label for figure 3-2, also problem with spaces. 3-5, no spaces or double dots. Why put double dots? It's not necessary. Figure 3-6, problem with spaces again. Figure 4-3, the figure itself. The font chosen was too small. Letters and numbers were not readable. And this is another thing. Most likely the person was in hurry, was in rush to submit a thesis, but normally when you make a figure using one software and then you move it to a Word document to fuse it in the last moment, and you try to compress it, make it smaller, and there's no quality control. Sometimes it's easy to miss that your labels, letters and digits are not readable anymore because they're too small, or because they're shifted or twisted or something. So then, so figure 4-4, font is not readable. Figure 5-2, font is not readable. 5-3, the font size again is too small. Figure 5-5, font is too small. Figure 5 capture or figure legend, space is missing, so again words are fused together. Figure 5-6, the font is too small. Figure 6-4, there were many labels and they were like overlapping, and that's why many of them were not readable again. Figure 6-4, spaces are missing between words, and 6-5, spaces is missing, etc, etc. So how to easily solve all these issues? First, there are several freely available softwares that can detect typos and errors and suggest fixing them. One of them is Grammarly. It is free. There's also a paid version, but well, it's up to you. I use a free one. Some students use a paid one, and they like. But Grammarly detects a lot of simple things like double spaces, wrong capitalization, simple typo. But it's not enough. In my experience, if you only use Grammarly and trust it 100%, it's a fail, because some words can be misinterpreted by software. So then you have a human control. So what you should do after using Grammarly or similar software, you need to correct everything and print a document. Maybe not environmentally friendly, but this is the best way to detect mistakes, and read slowly. I notice another situation when people try to read fast. They want to save time and they read fast, and they do not notice small errors, small mistakes. They just read fast. This is maybe a good skill to read fast when you read paper, when you read book, when you are in rush. But if you're looking for a quality and you want to have a good written dissertation or research paper, manuscript or grant, don't read fast. Read slowly. Read 2 times, read 3 times. You will notice a lot of small mistakes yourself, and fix them. The third thing is ask several people to read. Of course, it's a duty, and many people don't want to pay for this. You can also hire a company, you can pay if you have money, but most of the time people don't want to pay for this. So how to motivate people to read? Easy way is, if your colleagues, you can make arrangement and read in exchange. So one master student can read for a couple of friends thesis and give feedback, and the other way around. It's never fair. Some people do job better, some people do job with less quality, but it's a way to do. At least some feedback is better than no feedback. Another thing is to ask if it's a too long text, say PhD dissertation, maybe like 100 of pages to read. Maybe ask a few people, but to read the 20 pages only. It's easier. Most likely people will agree. So these 3 points I will repeat. Use Grammarly or similar software to find the small typos, fix them. Number 2, print hard copy and reread it very slowly yourself, and find a lot of small things which cannot be seen on the computer, on the screen. I don't know for whatever reason, but they are seen when printed, but not on computer. And number 3, ask several people to read. Ideally 5 people, almost never possible. At least 1 or 2 people, if they read and give feedback, it will be very nice. Okay, good luck.